Are you looking for a new 4X type experience, something that has a completely new theme or mechanical play style? Well, Conquest of Paradise might be the game for you. We'll be taking a good long look at Conquest of Paradise from PHALANX Games to see if this game might fit for your collection. Hello, and welcome back to Game Brigade. My name is Brian. Thank you for joining me. I want to say thank you to PHALANX Games for sponsoring my channel as we bring this video to you and my audience. Today, we are going to be talking about this 4X experience, which takes place around 500 AD as the Polynesian empires were beginning their exploration and conquest of the islands in the Pacific Ocean. But you are going to be taking control of one of those factions, and because there's only so many islands that you can inhabit and eventually colonize, there are going to be battles to be had, which is going to force players to interact, bringing us to our 4X gameplay. So we're going to be breaking down those mechanics, breaking down the gameplay, explaining how this game works, so you have a great understanding as you go and decide if this game is going to be for your collection as you decide to back it on Gamefound. It is to note that this game is a reprint, remastering, reimagining of an old classic. They are basically taking the original footprint of this game and really turning up the aesthetic appeal for it, improving with the gameplay components, with the neoprene playmat, the wooden meeples here, a reimagining of art to fit with the historical culture of the Polynesian people, really just diving into that cultural heritage in the game. So for gameplay, the first thing we're going to do is decide our turn order. The turn order is very unique in this game, and I really like it. I think it brings a unique twist to it. The way turn order is decided is the player who is in last place will get to choose who goes first. They can choose themselves if they wish, but they could also choose another player. But not only that, they get to also decide which direction, either counter or clockwise, for the turn to proceed. Now, there's a lot of strategic elements with this because you're fully controlling the turn order of who gets to go where and allowing the first last aspect of the gameplay to make sure you have perfect information. I really like that aspect of the game. The next thing we'll be taking a look at is the exploration, as that is one of the main key things that you're going to be doing in this game. And players on their turn will have the decision if they want to explore or if they want to choose to turn inward. Turning inward means you are not going to be sending your boats out. Instead, you're going to return them back to your home island. And by doing so, you're going to be providing your faction an additional building point to improve or to get more colonists or more warriors to basically enhance your people back at home. But for those audacious explorers, there are ways for you to explore this map to find new islands for your people. So how does that work? Well, you're going to take your exploration boat and you're going to place it on one of the known locations from your islands. So you can send it out over here. You can really send it from anywhere that is one of your known locations. And then you're going to travel into one of these open squares that doesn't have any tokens in it. You are then going to draw into the bag and find a token. There are 3 different types of tokens you can discover. You have the going off course, which means you kind of unable to find where you're going. You're going to be going off course, which means a player to your left will be deciding actually which location you're going to go. They can choose to send you somewhere else if they wish. The next token you can find are open oceans. Basically, there's nothing there. You have to keep exploring if you want to keep finding additional islands. And the other thing you can find is an island group. Now, this is a push your luck type mechanic, something that allows you to keep pushing yourself further into the oceans, but the risk of eventually getting lost and losing your turn, your exploration turn next time. One of the ways that is done is on the back of each of these tiles is a wave counter. If you are at 4 or less waves as you're exploring, you can keep going. If you ever hit 5 waves, you must return. And if you hit 6 or more, you'll be lost, which means your boat will come down here to the lost phase, which means they will not be available for exploring on the next round. So that push your luck mechanic means that you can keep pushing further and further into the unknown oceans, hoping to find additional islands or finding those sweet tiles out there, but you can lose your boat. Now, if you do file an island group, you'll be drawing a random tile from the top of the draw pile, and then you get to observe it. Now, there are a few different types of islands you can discover. For example, this is an atoll, which means this doesn't actually have any habitable locations on it, but it is worth victory points if you decide to make it part of your empire chain. Another island you could discover would be an island with an ability to habitate different types of colonists. Now, this one has a special rule to it because it has a white circle on it, which means it is unfertilizable land. You'll have to spend some of your building points to remove this token to eventually get more villages located on that island. So that is one of the ways that you're going to expand your empire, bringing out more exploration and more tokens for you to grow. The next step is the transit or movement step. It's where you can start moving things around your empire, beginning your ability to eventually get troops into position if you need to make a combat move, or to have your boats in a chain so that you can actually utilize the different types of resources that all of your colonies are producing. So that is a very important step. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place this island here for reference sakes, and I'm going to show that I have a colonist, which is a bunch of families that I want to move to this location. So if I have a boat, a canoe, I can take this group. A canoe can carry a singular soldier or a colonist with them, a family group, to these locations to then place them onto those places. It is also important because your canoes must all be connected through a chain so that you have an interlinking connection throughout your empire and all your resources can be traded amongst them. So what does that mean? We have this canoe from our actual game that's linking these yellow pieces. If this yellow canoe was to be removed, these islands here are going to be self-sufficient within each other, and these islands are going to have to be sufficient within themselves as well. What do I mean by that? Each of these island or these buildings, these villages on their islands will produce one building point for you to produce different types of items, such as warriors, war canoes, additional villagers, everything that will be producing to make your empire function and grow. So each of these are worth additional points. That's also where the turning inward bonus point will come from. But if you don't have your canoes linked within them, the points that these produce can only go into the points to the islands that this is connected to. So the points that these produce can only go on these islands. Same thing with these ones here. But by having a canoe linking these islands together, that allows us to now use all of our resources, and we can build anything we want that is within our empire's reach, really allowing you to push your borders further, or to expand and take control of some of these things that are kind of further away from your island. So it's from your home island. It's a really good way to build up your empire. The next step is the building step. Obviously, we had our movement step where we can transport our troops around, baiting, what do we want to do? You can also initiate combat in that movement step. We'll talk about that in a little bit as we go through the main steps of the game. So in the building step, you're just going to be building your items. As I mentioned, the war canoes are something you can build. Those are 3 points. Your warriors and your villagers are 2 points. Your transport canoes are 1 point. If you want to improve the land, if you have one of those tokens I mentioned, that costs 1 point. And if you want to build additional villages, that costs 2 points, or it's free if you have a colonist or a villager. And now I can construct more things here, more villages if I wish, especially if I use my building point to remove that agricultural area. The final thing that you can do with the build point is one of the coolest aspects of the game, bringing a lot of the asymmetrical aspects to this, because a lot of this is very symmetrical in terms of what you're able to do. But there is a arts and cultural deck that you can draw from that provides the players a way to give their tribe a little bit more cultural differences. So for example, you can buy this card. This is the Poi. It says all of your transports and war canoes may move 1 additional space. So the player who buys that, they now have a passive ability that's only affecting their canoes, making them be a little bit more powerful, a little bit more reach in terms of where they go, which is obviously perfect for something like this. Let's take a look at another one of those types of cards. The next one is the Moai. It says +1 victory point if you control a specific type of island. Now those islands can be hard to see, but in the bottom corners of some of these locations, I know I've got one around here. In the bottom corners of some of these locations is a specific type of icon. So this is saying that you have that island and remove 1 village. So that is a power. These cards also have additional victory points. So when you reveal at the end of the game during the end game scoring, these cards are providing additional victory points. Now there's a whole bunch of cards in here that can provide additional combat aspects or more exploration aspects. For example, I had a card in my village that provided me a -1 to our waves when I was doing exploration. So if I had 5 waves, I technically had only 4 waves, and allowed me to keep pushing forward if I wanted to do, which allowed me to actually, I was playing the green player this game, to get further along in this path. So that's one of the cool things about these arts and cultural cards that you can purchase using those building points. So let's talk about combat. Combat's one of the more unique things in this game. It's a very different type of system using a front line and back line for the way combat works. And combat is almost entirely done from the offensive player. Okay, so I've got a little demo here to represent how the combat works. But before we get there, I do want to make sure I point out one key element of how the game really treats players in terms of the hidden movement and the ambushing style of the gameplay. So what do I mean by that? Well, all of these tiles represent the villagers, the warriors, the war canoes, the regular canoes, if you wish, and they are all double-sided, where they have their actual piece on one side, on the back side, your tribal flag. This is important because as you're placing everything into the field, you can choose to place things face down so your opponents don't really know what you're buying or what you're moving around during the movement step. Players also are given this player screen, which has very handy rules and turn order stats, but it's also intended to block your available pool of tokens so that players also can't see what you've been buying or what you have a stockpile of, which enables that fog of war type aspect. So, for example, here we have the yellow player who will be invading a green island. Whenever you do that, you will take the war chip and you're going to place it on a location that says we're going to be providing war here. The green player will take all their tokens, face down if they are, face up if they are, and place them in front of them. And the yellow player will place all of their combat troops in a line. Now remember, I mentioned there's a front line and a back line. So you have the front line up here. These are actually all the warriors that are going to be providing combat. Your back line can be villagers or warriors, but if they're in the back line, it's usually because they're coming on a non-war vessel. This regular canoe cannot engage in combat. So these guys are going to be there to take and control the island if the battle is won, but they're not going to be able to be used in this combat. So now that we have everyone positioned, the green player will flip over their tokens to reveal what did they have there. And you'll notice that one of these tokens actually has a question mark. This is a rumor. This is one of those bluffing type mechanics. So each player has a grouping of these rumors that they can deploy for free into their islands face down. And it basically is a bluff of me having a unit, but it doesn't actually do anything. So in this case, it would go back to my player supply and I would have my 4 boats to do combat. Now with combat, the attacker, as I mentioned, will be controlling a majority of this gameplay aspect. So they're going to be the ones that are rolling the dice. You have this sided dice, which has a few different dice faces on it. If the sword is revealed, the defender panics, which means they'll be removing one of their soldiers from the front line to the back line. If all of their warriors are placed in the back line, they lose, and they'll have to retreat to another island if they have the capacity to do that. If there is a double icon for either the shield or the swords, that is actually how you'll be losing those soldiers in combat, those warriors. The shields reference the attackers, the swords reference the defenders. So let's give an example how a combat roll would proceed. So in this case, we rolled a double sword, which means a defender would be removed, being placed into the supply. The attacker keeps rolling, and so in this case, one of the attackers panics. So the attacker can choose if they want to send a warbow or a warrior. In this case, I'll choose to send a warrior. There's no difference in terms of their abilities. It's just basically who has the most numbers at the end of the round, and the attacker can keep rolling. They lost another one into the panic line. This one, another soldier was removed for the defender. Another panic. Another panic. And you just kind of do this until someone wins or loses. So in this case, the defender, even though they came in with only 4 defenders, and these guys came in with a bunch, the defender actually were able to hold off by causing enough of their opponents to panic. So that is the combat aspect of this game. The winner is decided by whoever has the most victory points, which is decided in the victory scoring section at the end of every round. Basically, the way scoring is done is every island that you control is worth 1 victory point. Every village you control is 1 victory point. And all of your cards that you've played that have victory points on them are also worth 1 victory point. And if you reference the side of the board, you will win based on the amount of players if you reach the certain threshold. At the 4 player, it was the 22-point threshold. And that is Conquest of Paradise. I hope this video gives you guys all the information you need to get a great understanding of this really interesting, complex, strategic wise, but not mechanically wise 4X experience. I thought it was really cool that we got to see a game that is in a theme, in a setting that I've really not seen in any type of board game. So if you're looking for something that is completely unique to add to your collection, I think Conquest of Paradise may be one to take a look at. It is important to note from base what I've seen on their Gamefound page, this is not coming to retail, so this might be the only way to get it if this is something you're interested in. I know the original game has been out of print for a while, and this reimagining, this re-implementation to bring a more aesthetic look is kind of a one-time go, unless of course it does extremely well, then who knows, but I don't work for PHALANX, so I wouldn't know that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. My name is Brian. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this video. Subscribe and hit the like button, and I will talk to you very soon.